Hey kids, it's me, Teacher A. Let me help you on inverse sine function. Okay? Let's start. Now, let's evaluate expressions involving inverse sine function. Okay? So let's have this number 1. How do you find the value of sine inverse of 1? So ganito lang gagawin ninyo. Okay? You let y be equal to sine inverse of 1. Okay? So, you're looking for the value of y. Right? Because you're looking for sine inverse of 1. What's the value of that? And that is equal to y. So, you try to look for the value of y. Okay? Equivalently, you can write this in this way. Sine y equals 1. So, parang you're looking for an angle measure na kapag kinuha ko yung sine ng angle measure na yon, the answer is 1. So, maybe it's good to recall some trigonometric function values or some circular function values. Okay? Let's do it. So, we have here a unit circle. Okay, what do you mean by a unit circle? The center is at 0, 0, and the radius is 1. Okay, so this point is labeled as 1, 0. What about this point? This one is 0, 1, right? What about this point? This one is negative 1, 0. And what about this point? This point corresponds to 0, negative 1. Okay? So, anong gamit nito? Okay? Also recall, this is your 0 measure, angle measure. Ito yung pi over 2. Right? This will recall. What about here? This is your pi, and here you have 3 pi over 2. Okay? Naalala nyo pa yan? Okay. Of course, you may want to write here, this is also your 2 pi. Okay? Okay, so ganito yan gamitin. Sa unit circle, if you have a unit circle, your x coordinate corresponds to the cosine of theta. Okay? And then your y coordinate corresponds to sine theta. So, ano bang ibig sabihin ito? For example, I'm going to look for sine of pi over 2. What is the value? So, hahanapin ko lang dito ang pi over 2. So, ito yon, di ba? Yan yon. And then, I'm going to consider this point, 0, 1. And I know that yung sine, yun yung y coordinate. Sino yung y coordinate dito? 1. So, the value of sine of pi over 2 is equal to 1. Okay? O, isa pa. What is the value of cosine of 3 pi over 2? Ano ang value niyan? So, you look for 3 pi over 2. Oops, nandito siya. At ang point corresponding to 3 pi over 2 is 0, negative 1. Okay? And I'm looking for cosine of 3 pi over 2. And we know that cosine is the x-coordinate. Okay? Which one is the x-coordinate? 0. So, the value of cosine 3 pi over 2 is 0. Okay? I hope that is clear. Now, we go back to our example. Here. So, hinahanap natin ang angle measure ni y such that kapag kinuha ko ang sine of y, the answer is 1. But you have to take note that y must be in the range of inverse sine. What is the range of inverse sine? It is negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Okay? Dapat nandyan yung angle measure na makukuha natin. Saan nga ba nagwo-1 yung sine? Anong value or anong angle measure ni y? Okay? Kapag bumalik tayo dun sa kanina, dyan sa unit circle natin, nasaan dyan ang y-coordinate na equal sa 1? Kasi di ba ang sine theta, that's the y-coordinate. So, hanapin nyo lang ang y-coordinate na equal sa 1. At ito yon. Right? Ito yung y-coordinate na equal sa 1. Ano yung angle measure? Okay? It is pi over 2. So, therefore, y here is equal to pi over 2. Pasok naman siya dito. Okay? So, therefore, ang value ng sine inverse of 1 is equal to, di ba? Ito yung equal natin sa y. What is the value of y? Pi over 2. Okay, so this is our second example. What is the value of sine inverse of negative 1? So, ganun pa din. You let this be equal to y. Y is equal to sine inverse of negative 1. Okay? And then equivalently, we can write this as sine of y equals negative 1. So, ganun ulit. Hahanap kayo ng angle measure na kapag kinuha ang sine niyan, equal yun sa negative 1. Kapag binalikan ulit natin ito, yung unit circle natin, and we know that yung sine theta is the y-coordinate, hanap lang kayo dyan ng y-coordinate na equal sa negative 1. Ito yun, di ba? Okay? So, ang ilalagay ninyo, 3 pi over 2. Di ba? So, ang tanong, tama ba na 3 pi over 2 ang sagot? O, so, syempre, tatanungin nyo, is this an element of the range of your inverse sine? Ano ba ang range ng inverse sine? Negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Diba? Nandyan ba siya? Actually, wala. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, ang y, hindi pwedeng 3 pi over 2. Okay? Ano kaya? Okay? Saan pa negative 1 ang value ng sine or nung y-coordinate? If we go back to our unit circle, pero hindi ko nagagawin ulit yung circle, di ba nandito siya? Andito yung point na 0, negative 1. Andyan yung y-coordinate na negative 1. Hindi pwede ang 3 pi over 2. So, hindi pwede yung, di ba, ito 0, this is 3, this is pi over 2, this is pi, this is 3 pi over 2. Hindi pwede ang 3 pi over 2 because it's not inside the range of the inverse sine. It's not in negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Okay? So, ano pa yung magre-represent sa line na ito? Napapasok dito sa interval negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Paano nyo basahin yung angle kapag clockwise yung direction pa ganyan? Ano yun? Diba ito ang 0, tapos pag ano natin siya babasahin. This is your negative pi over 2. Tapos ito naman, this is going to be your negative pi. And then ito, this is going to be your negative 3 pi over 2. Diba ganon? That's how you label angle measures kapag in the clockwise direction. Okay? So, anong value ni y? Anong value ni y dito? So, ang value ni y dito ay walang iba kundi negative pi over 2. Okay? And check. It is in the interval negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Okay? This is our third example. So, again, you may want to write it in this way. Let y be equal to sine inverse of 1/2. Okay? So again, we're really looking for the value of y. Okay? Kasi equal sila. Okay? So kung ano yung mahanap nating value ng y, yun na yung sagot. Okay? So again, equivalently, we can write this in this way. Right? Sine of y equals 1/2. So, parang iisipin mo, anong angle measure, itong y, anong angle measure na kapag kinuha ko yung sine niya, ang sagot, 1/2. Okay? So, you may want to recall this. The 30, 60, 90 triangle. Ito yun, 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay? And then, you may want to recall also the SOHCAHTOA. Anong ibig sabihin ng SOHCAHTOA? Ibig sabihin ito, sine of the angle is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Ito naman, cosine of the angle is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. And then ito naman, tangent of the given angle is equal to opposite divided by the adjacent side. Okay? And you also recall that 30 degrees is equal to pi over 6 radians. What else? 60 degrees is equal to pi over 3 radians. Okay? What about 90 degrees? 90 degrees is equal to pi over 2 radians. Okay? So, for example, I want to get sine of pi over 3. Anong sagot? Sine of pi over 3 is, so pi over 3 is 60 degrees. So, ito yon. Okay? What do you mean by SOHCAHTOA? So, sine of 60 degrees is equal to opposite. So, that's square root of 3 over 2 divided by the hypotenuse. What is the hypotenuse? 1. So, what is square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1? It is square root of 3 over 2. That's the value. Another one. What is tangent of 30 degrees? So, tangent of 30 degrees is TOA. Ito yung 30 degrees. Opposite, ito yung opposite niya. So, you write 1/2 here. So, if this is the 30-degree angle, its adjacent side is this one. Okay? Hindi pwede ang hypotenuse. May other name yan, hypotenuse. Ang adjacent side, yung katabi niya. So, square root of 3 over 2. So, we write square root of 3 over 2 here. Okay? And then, if you simplify, what do you get? You can cancel 2 here. Okay? And then, you will have 1 over square root of 3. And then, if you rationalize, how do you do that? Multiply the numerator and the denominator by square root of 3. And then, you will get this. Square root of 3 over 3. This is the value of tangent 30 degrees. Okay? So, let's go back to our example. So, ano nang value ni y? or anong angle measure ni y para kapag kinuha ko yung sine niya, ang sagot 1/2. Ang ginagawa ni teacher palagi, gagawa ako palagi ng triangle na 30, 60, 90. So, ito yung 30, and then ito yung 90. So, ito yung 30, and then ito yung 60. Ganyan, lagi akong gumagawa niyan, and then lagi kong alam na ang opposite ng 30 ay 1/2, tapos the hypotenuse is 1, and then this one is the square root of 3/2. Okay? So, if you recall the katawa, opposite over hypotenuse. So, sino yung value or angle measure na kapag kinuha ang sine equals sa 1/2? It is the 30-degree angle. Diba? So, opposite, it's 1/2 divided by the hypotenuse. Okay? So, 1/2. So, 30 degrees. But, of course, kailangan in radians. So, it is pi over 6. Okay? Is it in this interval? Negative pi over 2 to pi over 2? Nandyan ba siya? Yes. Okay? So, parang, if you recall, ito, bigyan ko nga kayo ng hati talaga. Kunyari, ito yung 0. And then, this is pi over 2. Okay? Yung gitna nila, yan. Diba? This is 0. Tapos, this is pi over 2. Yung gitna nila, ito yung pi over 4. Okay? Tapos, kapag meron ka ditong negative pi over 2, itong saktong nasa gitna nila, this is negative pi over 4. Okay? Tapos, yung pi over 6, andito. Medyo malapit kay pi over 4. So, nandyan ang pi over 6. Yung pi over 3, nandito. Okay? Of course, yung mga negative counterpart niya, nandito lang yan. This is negative pi over 6. Andito ang negative pi over 3. Okay? So, we are considering this interval. So, it's very clear that pi over 6 is in that interval. Ito siya, oh. Okay? So, ito ang final answer. So, ang value ng sine inverse of 1/2 is equal to pi over 6. Okay, so let's have another example. Okay, let's now get the sine inverse of negative square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so again, you write it as y equals sine inverse of negative square root of 2 over 2. Okay? Or equivalently, we have sine of y equals negative square root of 2 over 2. Dapat ang makukuha ninyong y value lies on this interval. Okay? So, anong angle measure kaya si y na kapag kinuha ko ang sine, ang sagot, negative square root of 2 over 2. Okay? Yung sine function, saan ba siya negative? Anong quadrant? Sa third and fourth quadrant. Okay? Okay. Pero tandaan nyo, y must be on this interval. Okay? Actually, pwede nyo ring isipin. Diba? Ito yung negative pi over 2. Andyan. Tapos, andito naman yung pi over 2. Pwede nyo isipin na dapat yung sine nandito. Okay? So, ano yun? You may want to recall this triangle. The 45, 45, 90 triangle. Ayan o, 45, 45, 90. Okay? Kasi, if you recall the katawa, Okay? And then if I ask you to get sine of 45 degrees, so you apply so katowa. So, this is the 45-degree angle. Pwede rin to. Kahit alin. Okay? So, let's just consider this angle. So, opposite, you'll have square root of 2 over 2 divided by the hypotenuse. So, the value of sine 45 degrees is square root of 2 over 2. Okay? Of course, this is also the value of sine of what is 45 degrees in radian. It is pi over 4. Okay? So, of course, ito rin ang value ng sine of pi over 4. It is equal to square root of 2 over 2. Okay? Of course, magbabago ito. Positive yan kasi ang pi over 4 nasa first quadrant. Okay? Sige nga, kung ang pi over 4 nasa first quadrant, sino yung nasa second quadrant? Okay? Ganito lang yon. Di ba ang coefficient yan? 1. Okay? Siyempre, isipin nyo, pwede ba ang 2 pi over 4? Hindi pwede kasi magka-cancel to. Right? O, pwede ba ang 3 pi over 4? Yes, kasi walang magka-cancel. Ito ang nasa second quadrant. 3 pi over 4. So, magka-count lang kayo ng 1, 2, 3. Pwede ba ang 4 pi over 4? Pwede ba to? No, kasi magka-cancel lang naman to. Ang sunod na pwede at hindi magka-cancel ay 5 pi over 4. So, ang 5 pi over 4 ang nasa third quadrant. Okay? What about yung nasa fourth quadrant? Ano ba sunod sa 5? 6. Pwede ba ang 6? Right here? Hindi, kasi may magka-cancel eh. Bawal pag may magka-cancel. May common factor. So, ang sunod na walang common factor, walang magka-cancel is 7 pi over 4. Yan ang nasa fourth quadrant. Ganun din sa pi over 3 at saka sa pi over 6. Okay? Magka-count ka lang from 1, 2, 3, and so on. Tapos dapat walang magka-cancel. Okay? Okay. So, alam natin na associated kay pi over 4 ang sagot dito. Kasi square root of 2 over 2. Ngayon, it's negative. Okay? Tapos sabi ko sa inyo, ito lang yung i-consider ninyo. Kapag dito, sa portion na to, positive kasi dito ang sine. Diba? So, dito kayo. Okay? So, ano kaya ang value dito ng y such that when we get the sine, it's negative square root of 2 over 2. It is? Ma'am, nasa fourth quadrant yan. So, ibig sabihin, yung kanina, if this is pi over 4, tapos dito, 3 pi over 4, and then 5 pi over 4, this is 7 pi over 4. Hindi pwede ang 7 pi over 4 because wala siya dito sa interval na yan. So, maghanap kayo ng iba pa. Hindi 7 pi over 4. Ano? It is negative pi over 4. Okay? Yan yung value. Yeah, nandito ang negative pi over 4. Actually, siya yung gitna. Ito. Okay? Ito ang negative pi over 4. Kapag ang ikot is in the clockwise direction. Okay? Let's try this example. Okay? So, maybe you can recall this. Sine inverse of sine x is equal to x. Okay? But, x must be in the domain of sine. Oh, what is the domain of sine? The domain of sine, restricted domain of sine. It is negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Right? Let's try this example. You may want to recall Baka naalala nyo lang yung kaninang note natin. Here. This one is equal to x, right? But x must be in the domain of sine. What is the domain of sine? Restricted domain of sine is negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Yeah? Okay, so ang sagot kaya dito is 7 pi over 6. Yan kaya yung sagot dyan? Or parang ito ba ay element ng negative pi over 2 to pi over 2? Tama kaya yan? Okay. Pwede nyo namang i-recall ito. Okay? Andito yung pi over 2. Okay? Andito yung negative pi over 2. So, ito yung focus ninyo. Nasaan ba yung 7 pi over 6? So, dapat kabisado ninyo yung family nung pi over 6. So, I'm going to teach you how again. So, parang, di ba, sa first quadrant, you have pi over 6. Tapos mag-count kayo. Pwede ba? Di ba? 1 yan. Okay? Pwede ba ang 2 pi over 6? No, kasi may magka-cancel yon with 6. Pwede ba ang 3 pi over 6? Hindi rin. Kasi may magka-cancel eh. What about 4 pi over 6? Meron pa din yung 4 at saka 6, di ba? Ang unang number na walang magka-cancel with 6 is 5. So, ang 5 pi over 6 nasa second quadrant. So, parang 5 pi over 6 nandito. Pi over 6 nandito. 5 pi over 6 nasa second quadrant. Sa third quadrant, ano kaya? So ano ba sunod sa 5? 6. Pwede ba ang 6 pi over 6? Hindi, magka-cancel yung 6 eh. Yung sunod na number, 7 pi over 6. Kompletohin na natin ano yung nasa fourth quadrant. Pwede ba ang 8? No, magka-cancel with 6. May common factor. Pwede ba ang 9? No, magka-cancel ulit sa 6. 9 over 6, di ba? Pwede ba ang 10? No, may magka-cancel na naman sa 6. 10 over 6, di ba? Magka-cancel. Ang sunod na number na walang magka-cancel with 6 is 11. So, we have 11 pi over 6. So, nakita nyo naman, ang 7 pi over 6 ay nandito. Okay? Nandito ang 7 pi over 6. So, wala doon sa ating gustong interval. So, hindi 7 pi over 6 ang sagot natin dito. Okay? So, hindi yan. So, anong sagot? So, magsasolve tayo ng panibago. Hindi pwedeng no value agad. Okay? Kasi, di ba, kapag tiningnan nyo to, etong sine of 7 pi over 6, merong value yan, di ba? You recall your trigonometric function values. Okay? Ano nga ba ang value ni sine of 7 pi over 6? Yan muna ang hanapan natin ng value. Yung nasa loob. Okay? So, kanina nakita natin ang 7 pi over 6, nakikita yan sa third quadrant. Kasi again, yung family ng pi over 6, ito yung sa first quadrant. And then, ito yung nasa second quadrant. Tapos, third quadrant. And then, ito yung nasa fourth quadrant. Okay? So, sa third quadrant, ano ang mga signs ng coordinate? Negative pareho. Negative ang x coordinate, negative ang y coordinate. So, ibig sabihin, negative ang sunod ninyong gagawin, di ba kapamilya niya si pi over 6? Si pi over 6, ito ay 30-degree angle. Okay? So, you may want to recall a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Ito. Okay? So, ito yung 30. Diba? Si pi over 6. And we're looking for sine of 7 pi over 6. Kung anong value ni sine pi over 6, yun din naman ang numerical value ni 7 pi over 6. Magbabago lang ng neta. Okay? So, negative naman na yan kasi alam natin nasa third quadrant. So, ano ba ang sign ng pi over 6? So, ang sign ng pi over 6 ay kapareho lang ng sign of 30 degrees. So, ano ang sign of 30 degrees? Alam natin, ito ay 1/2, right? Tapos, itong side na to, square root of 3 over 2. And then, the hypotenuse is 1. What is sine of 30 degrees? So, katawa. So, this one is 1/2. Okay? Yan ay pi over 6 sa first quadrant. Sa third quadrant, ang value niyan ay negative. So, that's why this is negative 1/2. Okay? So, kapag bumalik tayo dun sa ating problem number 5, parang you're looking for sine inverse of, alam mo na ang value ng sine of 7 pi over 6. It is negative 1/2. So, I'm going to write negative 1/2 here. So, hindi pa kayo tapos, right? So, ano naman ang value ng sine inverse of negative 1/2? So, again, yung kanina pa natin ginagawa, you let y be equal to sine inverse of negative 1/2. Okay? So, equivalently, we can write this as sine of y equals negative 1/2. Okay? O, isipin nyo kung ano yung angle measure na kapag kinuha ko ang sine, negative 1/2 ang sagot. Okay? Basta tatandaan nyo, your y must be what? Anong interval? Ito ay range ng ating inverse sine function. Ano ang range? Negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Okay? So, anong value ni y? Kapag kinuha ko ang sine, negative 1/2 ang sagot. Pwede nyo ulit i-recall to. This is negative pi over 2. Ito yung pi over 2. Yan. Diyan kayo kukuha ng angle. Of course, hindi dito, no? Kasi positive dito ang y-coordinate, eh. Dito, negative ang y-coordinate dito sa part na to. Okay? So, ano kayang value ng angle dito? It is negative pi over 6. Okay, kids? So, this is just about inverse sine function. Okay? So, if you want to know more, if you have questions, just feel free to write your questions in the comment section below. Okay? So, thank you for watching. See you in my next video.